Allah to grant us the Husnul Khatimah. Husnul Khatimah is a good end. And it's very important because a good end not only to give sign to the people who left behind, but also a good end to our life. It means that from that moment, you will go through nice time. You don't have to go through hardship in the grave. You don't have to go through hardship on the day of the resurrection. You don't have to go through their hardship on the day of Hisab, on the day of, until you end up in the Jannah, Jannatul Naim, that full of bliss, inshallah. But the same token, an evil end, a bad end to our life, tells people who left behind what sort of life you have in this world and what kind of hardship that you're going to go through. Left them with worries and concern about you. But of course, for all of us, we try to do our best. We try to do our best to achieve this good end and to be protected from the Su'ul Khatimah. We do our best. We do our best to do this. But I just come across to another hadith in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, فَوَالَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا فَوَالَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ غَيْرُهُ إِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ حَتَّى مَا يَكُونُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهَا الْكِتَابُ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا وَإِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَيَعْلَمُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ النَّارِ حَتَّى مَا يَكُونُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهَا إِلَّا ذِرَاعٌ فَيَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابُ فَيَعْمَلُ بِعَمَلِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ فَيَدْخُلُهَا. This hadith more or less mean Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by Allah, who's no God but Him, verily amongst you there are those who perform the deeds, the amal of the people of Jannah. During all of our life, in order to attain this Husnul Khatimah and to protect ourselves from Su'ul Khatimah, we try to do our best and do all the deeds of the people of Jannah, good deeds, until between Jannah and us, the dhira is like a handspan. And then these people then perform the deed of Ahlun Nar. And then Allah will enter this person to the Nar, to the hellfire. Na'udzubillah, may Allah not include us among these people. On the other hand, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us, remind us, that there are people who of all his life, they perform the deeds of people of Nar, the people of hellfire. All his life he's done the bad things. Until between him and death is like a handspan. And then he performed the deed of the people of Jannah, and Allah then admits him to the Jannah. If we look at this hadith at glance, we think that this doesn't seem to be fair. And Auzubillah, never let this kind of idea come across our mind, because this is Allah. Okay, Allah has never been unfair. Allah is adil. One of the attributes of Allah is the just. So it's not because of Allah. It's not because of Allah's decision. It has to be something else. There has to be something wrong with our deeds. There has to be something wrong with our iman, with our faith. That's why we end up, after all the hard work that we do for the sake of Allah, to let us be admitted to the Jannah, and then Allah then we're going to throw us to the hellfire. No, it's not Allah's fault. It has to be something wrong with us. So this is something that I'd like to share with you tonight, brothers, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. The ulama, the scholars, then qualified. At least there are some causes. There are some causes that may end up people to have su'ul khatimah. And we discussed this in brief to let us know, so we can look at ourselves, we can reflect on our iman and our faith and our deeds, and that we can improve ourselves to avoid ourselves fall into this category, inshallah. The first cause of the su'ul khatimah is the weak faith, weak in iman. There's a story about Abdullah bin Imam Ahmad, the son of Imam Ahmad. He said, like, when his father, Imam Ahmad radiallahu an, during his deathbed, when the death approached him, before he falls into unconsciousness, he said, La ba'da, not yet, not yet. He continuously said, not yet, not yet. And this is the time, you know, sakra, that's the time of sakra, sakratul maut. And he said, not yet, not yet. Now, for all of us who hear, they will say, hey, hang on, this is a quality of Imam Ahmad. Why he said, not yet, not yet? There's something wrong with him. So his son, Abdullah, was worried about this, and then when his father regained consciousness, asked his father, because he's worried, obviously, and said, oh, my father, why did you say la ba'da, la ba'? And Imam Ahmad said, I'll tell you what, during this time, when the death approached me, the shaitan came and sit near my feet and biting my sandals, biting my sandal, and said, oh Ahmad, I give up, Ahmad. I give up, now you win. And then Imam Ahmad said, not yet, not yet, not yet. Because until our soul, apart from our body, the fight will continue. And the Satan will doing his last ditch, his last effort to sway us away. Now those people, think about this, my brothers and sisters in Islam. This is the most difficult time when the hardship come to us, and the shaitan will try to persuade us to break our iman, to break our faith in its last very moment, and let alone now. So we have to be prepared with this moment. We have to strengthen our iman. One of the cause, the weak of iman, is, for example, the love of dunya. The love of dunya makes us weak in our iman. The love of dunya and what's in it, or what's in office, make us weak in our iman. So we have to make sure our iman has to be strong. Otherwise, all this time we try to do our best and to collect as much as deeds. But in the last moment, in the very most crucial moment in our life, and then Shaitan tempted us and make us fall into the trap and lost our faith. There are many stories of people, Barsisa, for example, of the story of, probably I don't need to go through this one, but this is the effort of Satan to break our iman. So make sure our iman is strong. Otherwise, in that very last moment of our life, Satan will tempt us. So, dear brothers in Islam, the second cause of the su'ul khatimah is what they call it, the defect in our iman. We may think that our iman is perfect, but I've seen and I've heard and I've read so many things wrong about people. Let's say, for example, we said that we believe in the Quran, but you hear these people, oh, look, I believe in the Quran, but I disagree with these verses. I don't like these verses. You know, you said that you believe, but then you reject one part of the Quran. No, that's not acceptable. If you believe in the Quran, you have to accept Quran as a whole. People, start talking about that. Well, you know, it's kind of norm now that people believe in what do you call it, Darwin evolution theory. This is very, maybe it looks trivial, but it's very core of our faith. If you start to believe that your great-grandfather is a monkey, and then that's, or ape, what do you call it, and then there's an effect in your iman. Or then you have a doubt in the attributes of Allah. This is a defect in iman. So be careful with, my brothers and sisters. Be careful with this. Make sure that our iman is perfect, especially the very core of Aqidah. Our Aqidah, the core of our faith, have to be perfect. Otherwise, it won't be accepted by Allah. The next one is, my brothers and sisters in Islam, the reason of Surah Khatimah is when people perform the deeds, and they did the deed without ikhlas and without ittiba. For the imam, for the deeds to be accepted by Allah, it has to comply in accordance with these two things. Your deed have to be for the sake of Allah, not for the sake of anything else. And it has to follow the examples and the teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The example of this, like in the Quran, is described of those people who think that, the iman or the deeds looks like this mountain of ashes. The thing like, a mountain of ashes. But then the violent wind will come and blow all of this and nothing left. Why? Because these people did the deeds without these two things. No ikhlas, not for the sake of Allah, and not following the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's end up with this. You may think that you collected these many deeds, but then in the eyes of Allah, it means nothing. It means nothing because you don't do it for the sake of Allah, and you don't do it by following the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So be careful with this, my dear brothers and sisters. We have to be, observe and look at our word. Don't just accept what people tell you, especially with, so many things. Information coming to you from many ways now. You hear this hadith and that hadith, and you don't verify it. You just accept it. Now be careful with this. And then, the example of our, because our parents do it, or because our great-grandparents do it, and we just accept it without verification. And this is not good enough. You have to check it, and you have to ask people, ask the scholars, and check it. This is true according to Islam. This is according to it is true according to Sunnah. Be careful. Otherwise, we think that we've done a lot. We think that we come to Allah with lots of deeds, but no. In the eyes of Allah, you've done nothing. So be careful with this, my dear respected brothers in Islam. The last things that I just want to be quick with this, that fourth cause of the bad end to our life is what we call is a lack of consistency. We mix the bad and the good. We do the halal and haram. We do all these things. Lack of istiqamah. One day in the mosque, and the next day you are in Grand Casino. Like of this. One day you have to maintain this consistency with your faith. You can't mix good and bad. If you decide to be in the path of Allah, stay in it. Stay in it. And may Allah give us the strength, because the temptation around us is very strong. And you have to be strong to stay in this course of Allah, on the right path of Allah. Do not let yourself go astray by following, especially for us who live in Australia, where there's so many temptations to us. It's so easy Like it says, like the trip to Jannah, the trip to Jannah is expensive, and the trip to the hell very cheap and easy to access. That's what we live in. This is what we got it here, and the temptation is in front of us. If I can just recap what I just mentioned about the causes of the Su'ul Khatimah, the bad ending to our life. Number one is the weak of Iman. Number two, the defect in our Iman. Number three, when we do the deeds or good deeds, we do it without this ikhlas, without ittiba. And then the last one is lack of consistency, continuity in our deeds. So may this short speech is useful and beneficial for all of us. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Sadaq bil ayati wa dhikril hakim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brothers in Islam, as I mentioned it before, like inshallah tomorrow, again we're going to do fundraising for our brothers in Burma, inshallah. So last week we did it for our brothers in Syria, and maybe we need to do more for our brothers in Syria, because what happened in other parts of the world, we cannot, people neglect them. So as much as we can, please give generously. If you want to send more money for the people in Syria, mention that to me. Inshallah, I will make sure it's delivered to them. So, but tomorrow we're gonna make fundraising for our brother and sister in Burma, inshallah, for the Rohingya refugee. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.